The great hall of the Galactic Council fell silent. 500 leaders from across the stars watched as the wounded Vexari soldier walked slowly to the center. His once shiny blue armor was now cracked and burned. One of his 4 arms hung useless at his side. His large eyes, only 2 remained where there should be 3, looked tired and haunted. "Speak, soldier," said the High Elder, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. "Tell us what you saw." The Vexari nodded, his mandibles clicking softly. He looked around at the gathered council, some leaning forward in fear, others sitting back in disbelief. 20 cycles ago, we thought we had won," he began, his voice rough but clear. "We had burned the human homeworld. We had destroyed their colonies. We had scattered their survivors to the cold edges of the galaxy." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many present had approved that war. Some had even celebrated its end. "The humans were deemed too dangerous to join our galactic family," continued the soldier. "They advanced too quickly. They adapted too readily. They questioned too deeply. The council voted and the hegemony carried out the sentence." The High Elder shifted uncomfortably. "We are aware of our history, soldier. We seek your testimony on recent events." "You cannot understand the present without facing the past," the Vexari replied firmly. "We thought we had ended the human threat. We were wrong." He raised his good hand, activating the chamber's display system. Above the council, a massive hologram appeared. The empty blackness of space near the ruins of what was once called Saturn. This recording comes from Outpost Krell 9, at the edge of the former human territory. We maintained it as a warning beacon, a reminder of the price of defiance. The council watched as the empty space in the hologram suddenly tore. There was no other word for it. Reality itself seemed to split open, creating a wound in the fabric of space. From within this impossible tear emerged the bow of a ship. "At first we thought it was a sensor malfunction," the Vexari said quietly. "Then we thought it might be pirates using stolen technology. Then we saw the markings." The hologram zoomed in on the ship's hull. Though scorched and battle-worn, the symbol was unmistakable. A blue circle with the continents of Earth, surrounded by olive branches. "A human warship," whispered someone in the chamber. "Not just any warship," corrected the Vexari. "This was the U.S. Lazarus, a vessel that we had personally destroyed in the Battle of Proxima Centauri. I know because I was there. I watched it break apart. I saw its reactor explode," the hologram continued. The ship, massive, angular, with weapon ports along its hull that glowed with strange energy, fully emerged from the spatial tear. It hung in space for a moment as if gathering its bearings. Outpost Krell 9 followed standard protocol. They hailed the vessel and prepared defensive measures. The recording showed the outpost's defense platforms turning toward the human ship. Laser targeting systems locked on. The human ship responded to the hail immediately. They transmitted only 5 words. The Vexari touched his control again, and a voice filled the chamber. Human, female, calm, but carrying an edge of steel. "We remember. We have returned." A shiver ran through the council chamber. "What happened next?" asked the High Elder, though her tone suggested she already knew. "The Lazarus fired once. Just once." The Vexari's voice dropped. "Our outpost had shields that could withstand bombardment from 3 heavy cruisers simultaneously. The human weapon cut through them as if they weren't there." The hologram showed a beam of blinding white energy lancing from the Earthship. When the light faded, half of the outpost was simply gone. Not destroyed, erased. 72 of my brothers and sisters died in that moment, said the Vexari. I survived because I was in a maintenance pod on the far side. Even so, the radiation nearly killed me. He gestured to his damaged body. These are not just battle wounds. This is what happens when you are too close to whatever weapon the humans have created. The recording continued. The Lazarus moved slowly past the ruined outpost, making no effort to finish it off. Instead, it opened another tear in space and slipped through, vanishing as impossibly as it had appeared. Before they left, they transmitted one final message, to be delivered to this council. Again, the human voice filled the chamber. 20 years ago, you tried to extinguish humanity. You failed. We have spent those years in the darkness between stars, rebuilding, remembering, preparing. We do not seek total war. We seek justice. The hegemony will answer for its crimes. Any world that stands with them will share their fate. Any world that stands aside will be left in peace. The message ended. The hologram faded. The chamber remained silent for long moments. Within 6 days of this encounter, the Vexari continued, human ships appeared at 17 other outposts across the former Earth territories, all using the same technology, all delivering the same message, all demonstrating the same weapon. How? Demanded a counselor from the back. How could they have developed such technology? We destroyed their industrial base. We scattered their population. They were barely achieving faster-than-light travel when we contained them. The Vexari's damaged face formed what might have been a bitter smile. That is the question that haunts the hegemony now. We believed we were punishing a dangerous child race. We never considered that the punishment itself would forge them into something far more dangerous. He straightened his broken body, standing as tall as his injuries would allow. I have fought in 12 major engagements against the returned humans. I have seen their ships appear from nowhere inside our defensive formations. I have watched our greatest weapons fail against their shields. I have seen them reduce hegemony worlds to ash, always military targets, always with warning for civilians to evacuate. The Vexari looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of those who had voted for humanity's destruction 2 decades earlier. You asked me here to tell you if the rumors are true. They are. The humans have mastered technology we thought impossible. They have weapons that defy our understanding of physics. They have returned from the edge of extinction with one purpose. He activated the hologram one final time. It showed a massive human fleet. Hundreds of ships of various sizes, all bearing the Earth emblem, all showing signs of battle damage yet still terrifyingly functional. This was recorded 3 days ago at the edge of hegemony space, their main fleet. They transmitted this message to all worlds in the sector. A new human voice, male, commanding, echoed through the chamber. This is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Fleet. For 20 years you thought us defeated. You celebrated our destruction. You built your peace upon our graves. Now we have returned, carrying with us the fire of 1,000 dying suns. The reckoning has come. The Vexari shut down the hologram and faced the Council directly. The humans are coming, not for conquest, not for resources. They come for justice. And I do not believe anything in this galaxy. 23 years earlier, the galaxy had been a very different place. The galactic hegemony ruled with unquestioned authority over 3 spiral arms. Thousands of species lived under its protection and control. Peace had lasted for nearly 500 years. A peace built on strict rules about who could develop what technologies, who could settle which worlds, and who could join the ranks of advanced civilizations. Then humanity made itself known. Jinha remembered that day clearly. He had been a young scientist then, barely 30, working at Korea's top space research center. The alien ship had appeared in orbit without warning, massive, gleaming, and utterly beyond Earth's technological understanding. They looked like giant blue insects, Jinha had told his sister Harin over the video call. 4 arms, 3 eyes, exoskeletons. Their ship is bigger than our largest city. Harin, a military analyst for the Korean government, had frowned. Are they hostile? They say no. They say they're here to welcome us to the galactic community. That had been the beginning. The Vexari, representatives of the hegemony, had come with gifts and knowledge. They taught humans about faster-than-light travel. They helped establish Earth's first colony on Mars. They introduced Earth to 12 other alien species. But Jinha had noticed something troubling. They're holding back, he told the United Earth Council 3 years after first contact. They show us only basic technologies. When I ask deeper questions, they change the subject. Kwon, the quiet engineering genius from North Korea who had defected south years before, nodded in agreement. Their ships use quantum field manipulation. I can see it in how they move. But they only teach us about simple ion drives. Jake Morrison, the American astronaut who had been first to board the alien vessel, leaned forward. I've been saying this for years. They're treating us like children. Lisa Park, head of the Global Translation Project, pulled up her data. I've analyzed their language patterns. When they speak to each other, they use complex concepts. When they speak to us, they simplify everything, like adults talking to toddlers. The Council had listened but moved cautiously. Humanity had just united under one government for the first time. They couldn't risk angering their new galactic neighbors. That caution would cost them everything. 5 years after first contact, Harin stood on the observation deck of the Mars colony. Below her, 5,000 humans worked and lived in the first settlement beyond Earth. Above her, through the clear dome, She could see the hegemony ships in orbit, more than usual. "They're concerned about our progress, Kanai," said Jinha, joining his sister. His face looked tired. He had been working nonstop on understanding alien biology. "We're advancing too quickly for their comfort," Harin replied. "Last week, Kwan's team improved their engine design by 40%. The Vexari representative looked afraid. Jinha nodded slowly. "I found something in their database. Something they didn't mean to share. The hegemony has a classification system for species. We're listed as potentially dangerous, rapid adaptation." Before Harin could respond, alarms began to sound throughout the colony. Red lights flashed. "The emergency system activated. Attention all personnel," came the automated voice. "Unknown energy signatures detected from orbiting vessels. This is not a drill. Proceed to emergency shelters immediately." The siblings looked up through the dome. The hegemony ships were moving into attack formation. "They wouldn't," whispered Jinha. "We've done nothing wrong." Harin's military training kicked in. "Run now!" They never made it to the shelters. The first energy beam hit the main power center. The second destroyed the dome above them. As the air rushed out into the thin Martian atmosphere, Harin's last thought was of Earth, unaware and unprepared for what was coming. Jake Morrison had been on his way back to Earth when the attack began. His small transport ship was just passing the moon when his communications officer, Lisa Park, received the emergency signal. "All channels, sir," she said, her face pale. "Mars colony is under attack. Earth defense systems report multiple unknown vessels entering orbit. They're firing on major cities." Morrison stared at the display in disbelief. "Why, we followed all their rules. We've been peaceful." "Sir," Lisa's voice shook. "I'm picking up a transmission from the lead hegemony vessel. They're broadcasting to all Earth governments." She put it on the main speaker. The cold, clicking voice of the Vexari High Commander filled the bridge. "People of Earth, the galactic hegemony has determined your species to be a level 5 evolutionary threat. Your rapid technological advancement and biological adaptability present an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. By unanimous vote of the Council, Earth has been scheduled for containment. Resistance will result in complete planetary sterilization." Morrison's hands tightened on the ship's controls. "Lisa, send a message to all Earth military channels. Tell them to launch everything they have. Then try to reach any of our ships that might be out of the system." "What are you doing, sir?" Lisa asked as she worked. Morrison turned the small transport around, heading directly toward the largest alien vessel he could see on the scanner. "They want to wipe us out. I'm going to show them humans don't die easily." His small ship was vaporized seconds after he activated the emergency core overload. The explosion barely scratched the hegemony vessel's shields, but across Earth, military commanders saw the sacrifice and understood the message. Fight to the last. The war lasted less than a month. Earth's weapons were primitive compared to the hegemony's technology. Major cities fell in the first week. Military bases were destroyed from orbit. When humans tried to surrender, the hegemony ignored them. Commander Rex, leading Earth's last organized military force from a hidden base in the Himalayas, gathered his remaining officers. Among them was Sarah Chen, a brilliant tactician who had predicted the alien betrayal years earlier. "We've lost," Rex said simply. "Earth is falling. Mars is gone. Our colonies on the moon have been destroyed. So we just die?" asked one of the younger officers. Sarah Chen stood up. "No, we ensure humanity survives." She activated a holographic display showing a massive ship hidden inside a mountain cavern. "This is the Lazarus Project, a ship built with every piece of alien technology we could reverse engineer, plus some innovations of our own." Rex nodded. "We've been building it in secret for 3 years. It can carry 10,000 people. Not many, but enough to preserve our species." "Where will we go?" someone asked. "They control the entire galaxy." "Not the entire galaxy," Sarah replied. "Our deep space probes found something at the edge of the Milky Way, a region of space with unusual properties. The aliens never go there. We think it might hide us long enough to rebuild." Rex looked around the room. "We have 12 hours before they find this base. We need to load the Lazarus with our best and brightest. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, doctors, people who can help humanity rise again." Sarah's eyes hardened. "And people who will never forget what was done to us. People who will work every day to ensure we return and bring justice to the hegemony." As they left to prepare the evacuation, Rex stopped Sarah in the hallway. "Do you really think we can come back from this? They're centuries ahead of us." Sarah looked at the latest casualty reports coming in from around the world. Billions dead, human civilization in ruins, everything they had built reduced to ash. "They think they're ending us," she said quietly, "but they're just showing us what we need to become to survive in this galaxy. And when we return, we'll bring with us the fire of 1,000. The place where humanity fled had no name in any galactic record. It existed in the space between galaxies, a strange pocket where the normal rules of physics bent and twisted. The hegemony avoided it, calling it the Dark Fold in their ancient texts. They believed nothing could survive there. They were wrong. For 20 years, the survivors of Earth lived in this impossible place. The Lazarus, once a single ship of desperate refugees, became the center of a small fleet. The 10,000 became 30,000 through careful growth and the rescue of other human survivors who had hidden in remote corners of the galaxy. Commander Rex, now with gray in his beard and scars across his face, stood on the bridge of the Lazarus. The ship had been rebuilt many times, growing larger and more powerful with each passing year. Through the main viewport, he could see the swirling energies of the Dark Fold, beautiful and deadly. "Status report," he said to the bridge crew. Sarah Chen, now his second-in-command and chief strategist, looked up from her station. 20 years had hardened her. Where once she had been a brilliant but untested tactician, now she was a legend among the survivors, the architect of humanity's return. "The fleet is ready," she said. "All 27 ships report green status. The new phase shift drives have been tested and confirmed operational on all vessels." Rex nodded. "And the weapon systems?" "The dimensional cannons are installed on the Lazarus and our 5 largest ships. The rest carry standard energy weapons enhanced with Darkfold technology." Rex turned to look at the tactical display. It showed the current positions of hegemony forces throughout the galaxy. For 20 years they had watched and waited, gathering this intelligence through small stealth probes and the occasional risky mission. "They've grown soft," he observed. "No major wars in 2 decades. Their border patrols follow the same patterns every cycle." "They believe they're safe," Sarah replied. "They think we're extinct." Rex touched a control and the display zoomed in on a small outpost at the edge of what had once been human space. "Outpost Krell 9, the perfect target for our first strike. Small enough to be manageable, important enough to send a message." "The crew is ready," Sarah said, "but I sense you have concerns." Rex was silent for a moment. 20 years ago we fled because we had no choice. We were outmatched, outgunned, facing extinction. Now we return with technology that may surpass theirs. The question is, what do we become in this war? Sarah's expression remained firm. "We become justice." "Justice can look very much like revenge," Rex said quietly. "The difference is in the limits we set," she replied. "We target military installations, not civilian populations. We offer surrender before we attack. We remember what makes us human even as we show them we are no longer weak." Rex nodded slowly. "Gather the ship captains." It's time they heard the plan directly from me. An hour later, the captains of all 27 ships in the human fleet stood in the Lazarus's main conference room. Some were survivors from Earth. Others had been born in the Dark Fold, knowing only stories of their lost homeworld. Jinha was there, one of the few original scientists who had survived. The years in the Dark Fold had changed him physically. His eyes now had a strange glow, a side effect of the unique radiation in their refuge. Beside him stood his sister Ha-Ren, who had cheated death on Mars through pure luck. She had been in a sealed lab when the attack came, and a passing human scout ship had rescued her months later. Quan stood silently in the corner. The quiet engineer rarely spoke, but his genius had been crucial to humanity's survival. His understanding of the Dark Fold's strange physics had led to their most important breakthroughs. Jake Morrison's son, Michael, represented the Thermopylae, named after his father's last stand. Lisa Park sat beside him, now the fleet's communications director and chief linguist. Rex entered the room, and everyone stood at attention. 20 years ago, he began, the hegemony tried to erase humanity from the galaxy. They destroyed our worlds. They killed our families. They believed we were too dangerous to exist. He paused, looking around the room. They were right to fear us, not because we were a threat then, but because of what their actions would make us become. Rex activated the room's holographic system, showing a detailed map of the galaxy. Today we return, not as conquerors, not as mindless engines of destruction. We return as the consequence of their actions. He outlined the plan: surgical strikes against key military targets, using their phase shift technology to appear without warning inside hegemony defense perimeters. The dimensional cannons would demonstrate their power, showing the hegemony that humanity now possessed weapons that could not be defended against. Our goal is not to destroy the hegemony, Rex explained. Our goal is to force them to acknowledge what they did and ensure it never happens again. We want justice, not extinction. Jinha raised his hand. And if they refuse to acknowledge their crimes? If they choose to fight? Rex's expression hardened. Then we show them exactly why they were right to fear human potential. The Lazarus emerged from its dimensional pocket exactly where planned, 1,000 kilometers from Outpost Krell 9. The massive station hung in space, its weapons dormant, its crew unprepared. They've detected us, reported the sensor officer. Their defense systems are coming online. Rex stood calmly at the center of the bridge. Open a channel. Lisa Park worked her console. Channel open, sir. This is Commander Rex of the Earthship Lazarus to Hegemony Outpost Krell 9. 20 years ago, your government attempted to exterminate humanity. We have returned to seek justice for that crime. The response was immediate. A barrage of energy weapons fire from the outpost. The shots passed harmlessly through the Lazarus, its phase shift technology making it partially out of sync with normal space. They're calling for reinforcements, Lisa reported. Standard hegemony distress code. Rex nodded. Good, let them call. Let them all know we've returned, he turned to Sarah. Weapon status. Dimensional cannon charged and ready, she replied. Targeting their main power core. Fire. The weapon made no sound. But everyone on the bridge felt it. A strange pulling sensation as the cannon tore open a small pocket of dimensional space inside the target. The effect was immediate and devastating. Half of the outpost simply vanished, the matter within that section folded into another dimension. Target neutralized, Sarah reported. 50% of the station destroyed. The rest is crippled. Survivors? Rex asked. Life signs detected in the remaining sections. Approximately 30 individuals, Rex nodded. Send the second message. Lisa opened the channel again. Rex's voice was calm but carried unmistakable authority. To the survivors of Outpost Krell 9, you have witnessed a fraction of what we are now capable of. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. Tell your leaders, humanity has returned and we bring with us the fire of 1,000 dying suns. He turned to the navigation officer. Set course for the next target. Phase shift when ready. The Lazarus disappeared from normal space, leaving behind the ruined outpost and the first witnesses to humanity's return. On the bridge, Sarah moved to stand beside Rex. It has begun, she said quietly. Rex watched as the swirling energies of dimensional space enveloped the ship. Yes, he replied. Now we'll see if the hegemony has learned anything in 20 years. And if they haven't? She asked. Rex's eyes reflected the strange lights of the phase shift. Then they will learn what it means to face a species that has nothing left to lose and everything to avenge. News of the attack on Outpost Krell 9 spread through the hegemony like wildfire. At first, many officials dismissed it as impossible. Humans were extinct, their threat eliminated 2 decades ago. The attack must have been the work of pirates or rebels using stolen technology. Then the second attack came. And the third. And the fourth. In the grand war room of the hegemony capital world, Supreme Commander Vexlar slammed his fist on the table. Tactical displays showed red alerts across 3 sectors of space. How is this happening? He demanded.
How are they appearing inside our defense grids?
The science advisor, a thin, gray-skinned being with 6 eyes, spoke nervously. The humans appear to have developed some form of dimensional phase shifting. They're not breaking through our defenses, they're bypassing them completely, by existing partially outside normal space-time. Impossible, growled Vexlar. No species has ever mastered such technology. No species we know of, corrected the advisor. But the humans, they've been somewhere else these 20 years, somewhere that changed them. A communication officer rushed into the room. Supreme Commander, we've received a direct transmission. It's being broadcast on all frequencies throughout hegemony space. Show me, ordered Vexlar. The main screen activated, showing the face of a human male. His beard was gray, his face scarred, but his eyes burned with calm determination. I am Commander Rex of the United Earth Fleet. For 20 years you believed humanity was defeated. You celebrated our destruction. You built your peace upon our graves. The camera pulled back to show Rex standing on the bridge of a massive warship, surrounded by other humans at various control stations. We did not die. We evolved. We adapted. We learned. And now we have returned to hold the hegemony accountable for its crimes. Rex's voice remained level, but carried unmistakable authority. We demand the following. First, a formal acknowledgement of the genocide committed against Earth and its colonies. Second, reparations in the form of returning all territories that once belonged to humanity. Third, the trial and punishment of those who ordered our extinction. The Supreme Commander laughed bitterly. They think they can make demands? With a handful of ships? Rex continued. You have 7 standard days to begin compliance with these terms. During this time, we will continue to neutralize military targets throughout your territory. We will not target civilian populations unless forced to do so. His expression hardened slightly. Make no mistake. We are not the same humans you tried to exterminate 20 years ago. We have mastered technologies you cannot comprehend. We have weapons you cannot defend against. And we carry with us the fire of 1,000 dying suns. The transmission ended. The war room fell silent. Finally, the Supreme Commander spoke. Gather the full might of the hegemony fleet. I want every warship we have moving to intercept these human vessels. They may have some new technology, but they cannot stand against our numbers. On the Thermopylae, Michael Morrison watched the massive hegemony fleet gathering on the long-range sensors. 500 warships forming a defensive wall around the Vexari homeworld. They're taking us seriously now, he said to Lisa Park, who stood beside him on the bridge. Lisa nodded. They should. In the past 3 days, we've destroyed 37 military bases, disabled 12 shipyards, and crippled their communication network in 2 sectors. Michael studied the enemy formation. They're adapting their tactics. Tighter grouping, overlapping shield coverage. They're trying to ensure we can't phase shift into the middle of their formation. Will it work? Lisa asked. Michael smiled grimly. They still don't understand what we're capable of. He opened a channel to the Lazarus. Commander Rex Morrison here. The hegemony fleet is in position. They've adapted their formation to counter our phase shifting. Rex's voice came through clearly, as expected. Are Jinha and Quan ready? Yes, sir. The Darkfold device is prepared. Then proceed with Phase 2. Michael closed the channel and turned to his crew. Battle stations. Prepare the Darkfold device for deployment. Jinha and Harin stood in the science lab of the Thermopylae, making final adjustments to a strange device. It looked like a small black sphere, but it seemed to absorb light around it, creating an unsettling visual effect. Are you sure this will work? Harin asked her brother. We've only tested it on a small scale. Jinha's glowing eyes, changed by years in the Darkfold, focused on the device. The physics are sound. The hegemony has never encountered Darkfold energy. They have no defenses against it. Quan, working silently beside them, made a final adjustment and nodded, to indicate the device was ready. Harin looked at the quiet engineer. 20 years and still a man of few words. Quan actually smiled, a rare sight. Some things don't need words, he said softly. Some things need action. Jinha carefully placed the device in a special container. This isn't about revenge, he said almost to himself. This is about ensuring humanity has a future in this galaxy. Tell that to the hegemony, Harin replied, her voice hard with the memory of Mars. The human fleet, 27 ships against 500, approached the hegemony blockade. The Lazarus led the formation, with the Thermopylae and 5 other major warships flanking it. On the hegemony command ship, Supreme Commander Vexlar watched with satisfaction. They come to their doom. All ships prepare to fire on my command. The human vessels made no attempt to phase shift. They approached in normal space, seemingly accepting the coming battle on the hegemony's terms. They've realized their trick won't work against our new formation, Vexlar said confidently. Now they face our superior numbers. His tactical officer looked confused. Sir, they're launching something. Small object, minimal power signature. A missile? A probe? Vexlar demanded. Unknown, sir? It's not registering properly on our sensors. The small black sphere, Jinha's Darkfold device, floated into the space between the two fleets. For a moment, nothing happened. Then reality tore open. A massive wound appeared in space itself, not like the clean phase shift the human ships used, but a violent, swirling vortex of energy. Dark tendrils reached out from it, touching the nearest hegemony ships. Where they touched, matter simply ceased to exist. What is happening? Screamed Vexlar as his fleet began to disintegrate. On the bridge of the Lazarus, Rex watched calmly. We spent 20 years in a place you feared to go, he said quietly, though the hegemony commander couldn't hear him. We learned its secrets. We mastered its power. The Darkfold vortex grew larger, consuming ship after ship, not destroying them, erasing them from reality itself. The hegemony fleet fired desperately at the human vessels, but their weapons seemed weak and ineffective against the phase-shifted hulls. They're breaking formation, Sarah Chen reported. 112 ships destroyed. The rest are retreating, Rex nodded. Signal the fleet. Move in and disable the command ship. Leave the others. The human vessels surged forward, their weapons precisely targeting the engines and weapons of the hegemony command ship, while avoiding critical life support systems. Within minutes, Supreme Commander Vexlar's mighty vessel drifted powerless, surrounded by human ships that had appeared from nowhere and wielded the power of nightmares. Rex opened a channel to the crippled command ship. This was a demonstration, not an extermination. We could have destroyed your entire fleet. Remember that when you report to your council. He paused, then added, 6 days remain for you to begin meeting our demands. The next demonstration will be more persuasive. As the human fleet phase shifted away, leaving the ruined hegemony formation behind, Rex turned to Sarah. Send word to all ships. Phase 2 complete. Prepare for Phase 3. Sarah studied his face. They'll surrender now, won't they? After seeing what we can do? Rex looked at the tactical display, showing the retreating enemy ships. Perhaps, but surrender born of fear is not the same as understanding. We need them to truly comprehend what they did, and why it can never happen again. And if they don't? She asked. Rex's eyes reflected the strange energies of the phase shift drive as it activated around them. Then they will learn why their ancestors were right to fear the Darkfold, and why they should have feared humanity's capacity to embrace. The Galactic Council chamber was silent as the Vexari soldier finished describing the battle. Many counselors sat with heads bowed or tentacles drooping. Some wept in their species' various ways. Others looked angry or afraid. After the destruction of our main fleet, the soldier continued, the Supreme Commander sent an emergency message to the High Council. He urged immediate surrender. 3 counselors refused. They said humans were bluffing, that no species could maintain such power without destroying themselves. The soldiers' damaged mandibles clicked in what might have been a bitter laugh. The humans proved them wrong the next day. They appeared simultaneously over the 3 homeworlds of those counselors. They did not attack. They simply waited in orbit, visible to everyone below. He activated another hologram. It showed a human ship hanging in the sky above a beautiful alien city. The ship's dark hull seemed to swallow the sunlight around it. Then at exactly the same moment over all 3 worlds, they activated some kind of energy field. For 10 minutes, day became night. Stars vanished. People on the surface felt cold unlike anything they had known. Plants began to wither. Water began to freeze. The council chamber grew even quieter. Then the darkness lifted. The human ships transmitted a single message to each world. This is but a shadow of the darkness we lived in for 20 years. The next time we will not stop it. The High Elder leaned forward. And then? The 3 counselors resigned immediately. The hegemony agreed to peace talks. Commander Rex stood in the great hall of the former hegemony capital. The massive room had been designed to make other species feel small, with towering ceilings and oversized furniture. But Rex showed no sign of intimidation as he faced the remaining hegemony leadership. Sarah Chen stood at his right. Jinha and Harin flanked his left. Behind them stood Michael Morrison, Lisa Park, and Quan, the core leadership of humanity's return. Across from them, the new supreme leader of the hegemony, a female Vexari named Xin Ta, sat with her advisors. Her blue exoskeleton gleamed in the light, but her 3 eyes showed weariness. The hegemony formally acknowledges the crimes committed against Earth and its colonies 20 years ago, she began, her voice amplified throughout the hall. We recognize that our actions were unjustified and based on fear rather than reason. Rex nodded slightly but said nothing. We agree to return all former human territories to your control. We will provide resources to help rebuild what was destroyed, and we will surrender those who ordered the genocide to face justice under human law. Sarah Chen stepped forward, and the guarantee that this will never happen again, to us or any other emerging species. Xin Ta hesitated. The hegemony has stood for 10,000 years. Our methods have maintained peace. Your methods nearly destroyed us, Jinha interrupted, his modified eyes glowing more intensely with emotion. And they have likely destroyed other species before us. Species who didn't find the Darkfold. Species who couldn't come back. The Supreme Leader lowered her gaze. What do you propose? Rex finally spoke. A new council. Equal representation for all spacefaring species, regardless of technological advancement. No more containment of emerging civilizations. Knowledge shared, not hoarded. And if we refuse, asked one of the advisors. Rex didn't answer. He didn't need to. The demonstration against the hegemony fleet had made the consequences clear. Xin Ta raised a hand to silence her advisor. We accept these terms. The old hegemony ends today. A new galactic community begins. She stood and approached Rex, extending her upper right hand in the human gesture of agreement. I hope in time our peoples can move beyond this history. Rex took her hand. Time will tell. Humanity remembers its dead, but we also look to the future. 1 year later, Jinha stood on the observation deck of the New Earth orbital station. Below him, the blue-green planet that had once been called Earth was coming back to life. The hegemony's attack had left it scarred and poisoned, but not beyond recovery. Already the first cities were being rebuilt. The first forests were being replanted. Haran joined him at the viewport. The terraforming on Mars is ahead of schedule, she reported. The new atmospheric processors are working better than expected. Jinha nodded. And the memorial? Complete. 10 billion names. Every human who died in the genocide, preserved in living crystal at the center of New Geneva. They stood in silence, watching their reborn homeworld turn beneath them. Do you think we did the right thing? Jinha asked finally. We could have destroyed them completely. Some wanted to. Haran considered the question. Revenge would have been easier. Justice is harder. But I think Commander Rex was right. If we had become like them, destroying what we feared, we would have lost something essential about being human. Speaking of the commander, Jinha said, have you heard from the expedition? Haran nodded. They've established contact with 3 previously unknown species at the edge of the galaxy. Species the hegemony was preparing to contain. They're bringing them into the new galactic union instead. Jinha smiled. From nearly extinct to saving others from extinction. Not bad for 21 years. In the Darkfold research station, Quan worked silently on his latest project. The strange energies of this place between galaxies had changed him less visibly than Jinha, but more deeply. His mind could now perceive patterns others couldn't see, connections between dimensions that defied standard physics. Lisa Park entered his lab carrying data tablets. Even after a year back in normal space, she still moved with the careful precision of someone who had lived too long in the Darkfold, where a misstep could mean disappearing forever. The new translation matrix is working, she said. We can now communicate with 97% of known species without error. Quan nodded, still focused on the swirling energy contained in his experimental chamber. The council is asking about your progress, Lisa continued. They're eager to understand more about the Darkfold. Quan finally looked up. Some knowledge should come slowly, he said quietly. The Darkfold saved us, but it is not entirely safe, Lisa understood. During their years in exile, they had lost people to the strange physics of that place. People who ventured too far, who became too changed, who simply vanished one day. I'll tell them you're being cautious, she said. After all, we have time now. Michael Morrison stood on the bridge of the Thermopylae, watching as his crew trained the first group of cadets from the new Galactic Union Defense Force. Young beings from 12 different species worked side by side, learning to operate the ship's systems, "They're adapting well," said his first officer, a young woman who had been born in the Darkfold and had never seen Earth until a year ago. "Adaptation is what saved humanity," Michael replied. "Now we teach others to do the same." His communication officer called from across the bridge. "Captain, incoming transmission from Commander Rex, Priority 1. Michael straightened. On screen, Rex's face appeared on the main display. He was on the Lazarus somewhere near the galactic core. "Morrison," he said without preamble, "we've detected unusual energy signatures in Sector 42. Similar to Darkfold radiation, but different. I want the Thermopylae to investigate. Could it be dangerous?" Michael asked. Rex's expression was serious but calm. "Possibly. But remember what we learned in exile. The greatest dangers often hide the greatest opportunities." After the transmission ended, Michael set course for the coordinates Rex had sent. As the Thermopylae prepared to phase shift, he thought about his father, the first Jake Morrison, who had sacrificed himself in a hopeless battle to buy others time to escape. "We came back, Dad," he whispered to himself. "We came back stronger." The Vexari soldier finished his testimony to the Galactic Council. The chamber remained silent, processing all they had heard. "That was 5 years ago," he concluded. "Since then, the humans have kept their word. They helped create this new council. They shared some of their technology, though not all of it. They patrol the borders of known space, protecting emerging civilizations instead of containing them." He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each counselor. "But never forget what I have told you today. Never forget what we almost lost. Never forget what humans became when pushed to the edge of extinction." The soldier straightened his damaged body one last time. "They walk among us now as friends and allies. They teach our children and heal our sick. They explore with us and trade with us. But within them still burns the fire of 1,000 dying suns, and they will never allow it to be extinguished again." As the council session ended, the Vexari soldier limped toward the exit. At the door he paused, looking back at the chamber where representatives of 100 worlds now governed together. "A better galaxy," he murmured to himself, "born from our greatest mistake." Outside, the stars shone in the night sky. Among them, human ships patrolled. Guardians now, not avengers, carrying with them the memory of Earth that was, the promise of Earth reborn and the eternal fire that